Hi there, in today's video, we are going to be putting together some delicious and healthy recipes for a fall bake with me. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jessica, and here on my channel, we focus on all things mom life. However, everything we do in my space does have a bit of a healthy twist, as I'm a holistic nutritionist and a nutritional practitioner. Here at my house, we are 2 weeks into back to school, which means I've been packing a ton of lunches and preparing a lot of after school snacks. So we have been doing a lot of recipe testing around here. So I thought it would be fun to take you into my kitchen today and do a full fall bake with me. I, of course, will share all of the recipes for everything that we're putting together in the description box down below. The first recipe that we're gonna get started with is pumpkin banana bars. These ones are delicious. They literally taste like cake. Honestly, you can make like heavy cream with a little bit of coconut sugar, honey, or maple syrup, whip it together, put it on top, and you could serve it as a fall cake at a gathering you may have, or honestly, just as a special treat for you and your family. So we're gonna get started on that one. I'm really excited today because I have been teasing this over on my Instagram channel. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I will have that for you somewhere on the screen. You should give me a follow. I'm on there every day sharing tips, tricks, and of course, recipes. But I've been talking a ton over the summer about tigernut flour. So tigernut flour has been a really exciting find for my family because we do, of course, send our kids to school, so we have to have nut-free snacks. And contrary to the name, it actually is not a nut product, but it is also grain-free. So for those of you who like to eat paleo or keto, or definitely keep your carbs lower and go grain-free, tigernut is an exciting flour to experiment with. The texture is something that I've been working with to really refine, and you know, I'm learning as I go, but I do think that you will enjoy it in this recipe. In the description box down below, I will include other flours that you could most definitely substitute it for, but I get ours on Thrive Market. It was out of stock for months, so I actually withheld filming a video using it because it was out of stock for like 6 or 8 weeks. It is back in stock, so I will have it linked for you guys down below, but we are gonna be experimenting quite a bit with tigernut flour in today's video. Another quick note about tigernut that I realized I didn't mention, so it's actually a root vegetable, so kind of like cassava flour, but tigernuts are super high in fiber. So there's actually 18 total carbs. If you're somebody who is carb conscious, then you will love this flour. So there's 18 carbs, but there's 9 grams of fiber. So there's actually only 9 net carbs per serving when you use tigernut flour. Now, I'm not somebody who really counts carbs, but I am somebody who counts fiber. I love a high fiber diet. For any of you who watch my channel or are familiar with my approach to nutrition and especially hormone health, I think that fiber is essential not only for women, but for men and for your children. So that's a whole nother reason that I've been experimenting with tigernut flour. And again, it is from a root vegetable, so it actually is not a nut product, so it is definitely school safe. Okay guys, so I'm gonna try my best to get through speaking to you live versus voiceover, but we've been dealing with a preschool cold for the last week, so we'll see how long I can make it. But I've got everything set up for the pumpkin pie bars. And here I have all of our dry ingredients. So I will put all of the exact measurements for you down in the description box down below. But in there we have the 2 cups of tigernut flour. Additionally, I have a 1/4 cup of arrowroot flour. However, if you don't have arrowroot flour, you could absolutely substitute that for 2 tablespoons of brown rice flour. I have some baking powder, pumpkin pie spice, ground cinnamon, ground ginger, and a little bit of Celtic salt. So that's everything we have in here. Here I have 1/2 cup of coconut sugar. I would definitely recommend that you use the coconut sugar instead of completely substituting it for a liquid sweetener like honey or maple syrup, because we will use a little bit of liquid sweetener at the end, but I do highly recommend a granulated sugar like coconut sugar here. Then we have 3 pasture-raised eggs, 2 ripe bananas, and a full cup of pumpkin puree. So you do want the pumpkin puree that doesn't have any of the sweetener or spices in it, because we have our sweetener here, and of course we have our spices in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix in my coconut sugar now, and then I'm gonna put in the food processor all of my wet ingredients together. That way they're really well combined before I start to mix everything into the bowl. put my hair up, that's how you know it's getting serious. And I'm gonna try my best, like I said, to talk to the camera as much as I possibly can. I'm making some throat coat tea right now as we speak from Traditional Medicinals. But this little powerhouse here, I will have linked for you guys in the description box down below. My girlfriend bought this for me from Bed Bath & Beyond, and I think it was like $20. They also have one that's a little bit bigger and more powerful on Amazon, and this thing is amazing. It's a little workhorse. I use it every single day. I pretty much pulverize, you guys see this all the time, vegetables. I put it in our chili, I put it in our spaghetti. Not that I'm trying to hide veggies from my children, it's just a great way to get more vegetables into your family. But as you can see, obviously, as a food processor, it's amazing for baking. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix in the coconut sugar here into our dry ingredient bowl, and then I'll be pouring this in. We'll put it in our pan, throw it into the oven, and bake. That's simple. Moving into our next recipe, and that is apple zucchini donuts. By the way, the pumpkin bread is smelling delicious behind me. I just cleaned the kitchen and I got all of our dry ingredients together for our donuts, and so we're gonna start assembling these soon. These ones are such a huge hit with my kids and with my clients. When I'm recipe testing, I always recipe test on my kids first, and then if it works into one of my clients' meal plans, pumpkin bread. Be right back. Okay, that smells delicious. But what I was saying is, if it works into one of my clients' meal plans where I can get some extra nutrition into them through some healthy baked goods, then I move on to letting them try the recipes as well. And these donuts have been literally a fan favorite. In my practice, on average, I have about 25 to 35 clients per month, and right now I have 10 of them on these donuts this last week, and each and every one of them are emailing me almost every single day saying how much they and their families love these donuts. So they're super simple to put together. We're gonna be mixing up the flours a little bit. We've got tigernut flour and we have cassava flour. So the texture is definitely dense but airy at the same time. And that's something I'm really passionate about. I want it to taste good, one, but I want it to give you that authentic baked good feel. My husband is somebody who loves a pastry, right? Like, we don't get them often, actually rarely to never, but he's somebody who loves like a pastry with his coffee in the morning. So when I make a recipe and he says to me, wow, the texture of this is delicious, or it tastes really good, I know I'm doing well. So let's go ahead, see how the pumpkin bread turned out, and then we do need to let it sit for a little bit, of course, and cool before we start slicing it, because it is kind of like a cake texture. So while it does cool, we will go ahead and put together our donuts. Okay, so the pumpkin bread is looking delicious. The banana pumpkin bread, I should say. It looks to be done. I did go ahead and stick a fork through it. It came out dry. I'm gonna let it cool here in the pan for about 5 minutes, and then I will go ahead and pull out the parchment paper, which is why we love parchment paper. It's so easy to bake with. I'm gonna pull out the parchment paper in its entirety and set it directly on a cooling rack, but I do wanna let it rest in here for about 5 minutes before I disturb it and directly remove it to the cooling rack. So in the bowl, I've already gone ahead and thrown together our dry ingredients really quickly. So I have 1 cup of cassava flour right over here. Then I have 3/4 cup of tigernut flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and then 1/4 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix all of this together, and then we're gonna get going on our wet ingredients. Okay, so now we're gonna take 1 cup of zucchini. I'm gonna put it in a food processor just to shred it really quickly. Then I'm gonna put it through a nut milk bag and squeeze out all of the liquid. Now don't throw away that liquid. You can go ahead and put it in a mason jar or in a glass bottle, put it in your refrigerator and save it as a smoothie base. But we do wanna go ahead and remove that liquid so that our donuts aren't super soggy. Now moving into the wet ingredients, we've got our food processor back out. I've sliced up 1 medium-sized gala apple. It's actually one of the Disney Mickey Mouse apples from Costco. I sliced that into here. I am gonna pulse that with the other wet ingredients. Then I have 2 pasteurized eggs, a 1/4 cup of coconut oil, it's just slightly melted, 1 cup of pumpkin puree, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm gonna go ahead and do the eggs with the apple really quickly because I like the texture that gives, and then I'm gonna mix that into the dry ingredients. Then I will go ahead and add in the pumpkin puree, coconut oil, and teaspoon of vanilla extract into here, mix that all together, and also put that in with the dry ingredients. Then one last final yet optional yet highly recommended mix in and add in, and that would be a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. You could do cacao nibs, but I do have regular chocolate chips today. They are sweetened with stevia and they are dairy free and the kids love them. And we are making fall donuts, so why not make it a little bit extra fun by adding in some chocolate chips. So I'm gonna do that at the very end because I don't like them to overmix. So we'll pour that in after we get all of our wet ingredients and dry ingredients combined. As you can see, mixing the apple with the egg kind of essentially disintegrated the apple and made it into like more of an apple sauce, which is what I like. That way you can taste the apple in every single bite. However, you could absolutely shred it and leave it in chunks, but I just prefer it this way because I like to get the apple throughout every single one of the donuts. Now you'll go ahead and add in your softened coconut oil. You could also swap this for grass-fed butter. I made them last week with grass-fed butter and it was equally delicious, but I'm choosing to do coconut oil today. It is kind of thickened up, as you can see from the coconut oil. And now our pumpkin puree. Okay, now we're gonna sweeten things up. I have that 1/4 cup of chocolate chips and 1/2 cup of maple syrup. You wanna use pure maple syrup. You could absolutely substitute this for another liquid sweetener like honey, but I do have to say maple syrup is by far my favorite in this. It really brings together all of the delicious fall flavors. So you guys have seen me use the By Dash donut maker here on my channel a ton when it comes to making donuts, But I was at my best girlfriend's house a couple weeks ago and she had this in her kitchen and I was like, what is that? The donuts are a little bit bigger and you can make more of them at once. With the Dash donut maker, I think you can make 6 or is it 8? I would need to go check. It is the cutest darn thing that you ever did see. I love everything that Dash makes, but I have to say that this is so much more convenient. One, like I said, the size is a little bit bigger, so I noticed that it is perfect for me to send 1 donut in each of the kids' lunch boxes. With the Dash one, I had to send 2 or 3. They were just smaller. This one is bigger, and you can make 12 donuts at a time, and I think it was $13. So honestly, I might go back and get another one because I could just make 2 batches because right now this will make 24 donuts, depending on obviously how thick you make your donuts. So we're gonna go ahead and spray it with a little bit of Chosen Foods avocado oil. It is the Made by Design from Target, FYI. I will have it linked for you guys in the description box down below, along with the Dash donut maker, which I still use. It is really cute, but it's more of like a novelty item. And they're not gonna be perfect. I'm not gonna use a piping bag. I'm just gonna go ahead and use my favorite scooper of all time, scoop it in and just kind of work around the middle so that it looks like a proper donut. All right, you guys, look at the texture of this delicious banana pumpkin bread. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. It smells amazing. I, of course, just had a little bit of a square. So this is delicious on its own. If you want to dress it up, you could put a little cashew butter or sun butter or almond butter on top. You could drizzle a little bit of honey and then sprinkle on some hemp seeds and cinnamon. That would be divine. You could also spread a little bit of apple butter on top of every individual slice. I mean, truly, the world is your oyster. This is just so delicious. So we will most likely eat this on our own with coffee for breakfast. The kids would probably love this on its own, also with some sugar-free jam. I'm pretty sure I have a raspberry sugar-free jam. So I could have a little slice for them, warm it up in the toaster oven, put some sugar-free jam on there. Yum. This one is such a good fall staple. Okay, so I just pulled these out of the oven. Obviously, depending on how thick you fill them, how much batter you put in will depend on the cook time. So I filled them pretty much to the top and I cooked them for 30 minutes and they are perfect. Another thing you can see about this silicone baking mold is that they pop right out so easily. That's the thing with silicone. Sometimes they don't pop out and they can break and it makes a huge mess, but this cleans like a dream. So I'm gonna let these sit for 1 or 2 minutes, not too long in here because I don't want them to get soggy. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cool them over here. I'll move our pumpkin banana bread back a little bit and we will get these on the cooling rack. Okay, so the donuts are out of the mold and on the cooling rack, and the texture of these is amazing. The perfect bounce back and squish to them. Definitely a denser texture because we used the tigernut flour. Same as our banana pumpkin bread. You can see there's definitely a dense texture, and that is because it is a rich source of fiber, which is what you want when you have a baked good so that you don't feel ravenous and hungry 10 minutes after eating it. These carbs would definitely behoove you because they are a rich source of fiber. Obviously, we added pumpkin and veggies with zucchini into these, as well, of course, as fiber from our apple. So these baked goods, you guys, are really packed with nutrition and they're delicious. So I want you guys to feel inspired throughout the fall that you can enjoy the fall flavors and it doesn't have to completely set you back in regards to health and wellness. It's officially a new day. Yesterday I finished filming and I realized I didn't have any more eggs left. And I was most certain I needed it for my last recipe, my pumpkin waffles, and I do not need it, but it was good. Honestly, I was a little bit tapped out. I wasn't feeling great. Today I have woken up and I feel so much better, so much more energized, even though it is very dark and gloomy outside. I'm feeling super energized and honestly just happy to be feeling better finally. So we are gonna end today with our very last recipe, and that is pumpkin carrot waffles. They are delicious. I've shared about these over on Instagram and I got the request for the recipe, and of course they're included in today's fall bake with me. So I've got all of the ingredients laid out in front of me, so I'm going to give you a quick overview and then we will go ahead and start assembling. Okay, so for our dry flours here, we have 2 cups of loosely packed brown rice flour. Additionally, in here I have 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed and I have 1 tablespoon of tigernut flour. As you can see, there's a theme because I've been promising this tigernut video forever. I definitely wanted to come out swinging for you guys. Then over here we have our different spices. We have nutmeg, cinnamon, and additionally we have a little bit of apple cider vinegar, baking powder, of course pumpkin puree, 1.5 full cups of carrots. We have some coconut oil that I do need to fully melt. We're gonna go ahead and combine the coconut oil, the apple cider vinegar, the carrots, and the pumpkin puree in a blender to blend it all together so that the carrots are blended throughout our entire waffle mixture. Okay, I've gone ahead and turned up the lights in the kitchen and wow, now it's washing me out. That is one thing I am super grateful for in the new house is the amount of lighting that we have. In the old house, there was definitely like challenging to film unless it was bright and sunny out because we didn't have a ton of natural light, one. And secondly, our recessed lights and the lights that we had put in weren't that bright. So hopefully you guys can see crystal clear, even though it's super dark, gloomy, and fully out. So it's the perfect time to be baking. I'm gonna go ahead and pour in our dry ingredients into the big bowl. Then I'm gonna get out the blender and puree and pulse together all of our wet ingredients, fully mix that in. We're gonna put it in the waffle maker, and that's it. Super easy, simple to pull together, yet full of nutrition. We're gonna cook it for about 4.5 minutes on one side and then about 3.5 to 4 minutes on the other side. Of course, that will depend on your individual waffle maker, so you'll have to determine what works best on the size of your waffle maker, but you can generally tell by just breaking off like a little corner and seeing if the inside of the texture looks dry and if it looks fluffy. Voila. So if you're somebody who likes more of like a pancake batter, then I would recommend potentially using a flour like cassava flour or even a whole wheat flour, because when using the brown rice flour and especially the tigernut flour, it's going to give you a very hearty texture, which is what I love, because the more of a texture it has, the more fiber the waffle has to it. Also, you could omit the carrots. Adding the carrots will definitely provide more texture, and likewise the ground flax seeds. So I like that because I don't want myself or my kids to eat a pancake or a waffle. You know when you have a pancake or a waffle and you're hungry, one, from the blood sugar roller coaster, but two, you're hungry 45 minutes later? Not these ones. We've added in so much fiber and so much nutrition that it will definitely keep you satiated and full for up to 2 hours. And likewise, you could even spread a little bit of almond butter, cashew butter, sunflower seed butter on top of your waffle, and then just put a little bit of cinnamon and a drizzle of maple syrup. And that's the way I like to serve it to our kids. So that way it keeps them super satisfied. So just a couple of notes about these waffles, that they definitely do have a heartier texture to them, which I love. I encourage you guys to give it a try, especially if you haven't had a dense waffle. Nothing better. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and if you liked this video, you can let me know by giving it a big thumbs up. And now the subscribe button is right over here on the screen. Give that a click, that way you don't miss a single video, and I hope to see you back here next Thursday.